Hi, I'm Brian, and welcome to the channel, or if you're coming back, welcome back. It's great to see you again, or you can see me. I suppose I can't really see you. But anyway, a few weeks ago, I was in my local record shop, not exactly my local record shop, it's about 80 kilometers away, but it's one of my local record shops, and the owner was playing this over the sound system, the Police Ghost in the Machine. And I said to him, look how fantastic that back cover looks. Oh, it's not really what I said to him. What I said to him is, I've forgotten how good this album is because he was playing Spirits in the Material World. Every little thing she does is magic. There's the Inners, and it's not quite as exciting as the Inners. It's sort of got an H.R. Geiger sort of look about it, a futuristic look. And the vinyl is on A&M, I believe, but they've got their personalized labels now. Anyway, the album came out in 1981, and this time it was produced by Hugh Padgham. Nigel Gray had been given the flick, apparently. And Hugh Padgham was a really interesting producer, or co-producer with the Police in this case. Just shortly after this one, or is it before it? I'm not sure. I think it was shortly after they did. He did XTC's English Settlement, which is chef's kiss, absolutely unbelievable. And from New Zealand, Split Ends' Time and Tide, and they're both Time and Tide, and they're both brilliantly produced albums. So I wanted to get back into this album, and interestingly enough, it's the first album that they did which really featured saxophone, and that's good old mate Sting doing the saxophone, and lots of keyboards. And look at this cover. Always looked at it as a sort of a sign for the future, but apparently that is the three members of the Police digitally represented. You can see their haircut, so that's probably Sting, that's probably Stewart, and that's probably Andy, or this one could be Sting, and this one could be Stewart, and this one could be Andy. I don't know. It's a bit tricky, but it also has on there this sticker, which I'll talk about later. This album contains language which may be considered offensive. Now, I think one of the reasons I haven't really thought about this album in 30 or 40 years is because it's an album, I think, of two halves, or three thirds, I would say, is even better, where there's some really amazing songs on there, but there are some songs which don't really do that much for me. Anyway, does it stack up after 40 years? Let's get into it and let's find out. Now, before we go into a deep dive on all of these individual tracks, I think this record really needs to be seen through a particular lens, and that lens is addressing this question: where's Andy? I get the feeling that Andy's missing on a lot of this album, or he's buried in the mix, and I don't like it. To me, he's such an important and quintessential member of that part of that Police sound, with Stewart's drumming, Sting's bass playing, his songwriting, that without Andy really up front and center, something's missing. And Andy says, I'm going to read it for you, but you can read it on Wikipedia as well. He says, I have to say I was getting disappointed with the musical direction around this time of Ghost in the Machine. With the horns and the synths coming in, the fantastic raw trio feel, all the really creative and dynamic stuff was being lost. We were ending up backing a singer doing his pop songs. And that becomes more evident the more we hear of this album and ask the question of, where's Wally? Sorry, where's Andy? Anyway, the song kicks off with Spirits. The album kicks off with Spirits in the Material World. And we begin with these keyboard stabs, a reggae feel in this wandering bass line. The vocal comes in, which is really interesting as well, sort of once again plays itself against the rhythm of the song a little, and then we hear the crack of Stewart's snare drum and we go into the chorus. It's really a catchy chorus as well, and I love how it lifts off after the second chorus and takes us into sort of an astral plane through the use of synthesizers once again, but also Sting's voice coming up the top, coming over the top. And then we have an instrumental, which is really interesting, with Andy does come out with a little guitar riff. Dun, 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 dun. Almost sounds Russian. Anyway, I don't know whether it's a guitar or a guitar synth, and it continues through into the third verse. And I'm still wondering, where are those beautiful chorus chords? Having said that, it is a great song, and it was their third single off this album, and a great way to begin the album. And immediately we segue into the second single on this album, which is Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Second single. Really? There's a song that's coming up later, which apparently the record company wanted to push as the first single, and Sting, I think, vetoed it. But the question for me would have been, for anybody who understands popular music, and I'm not claiming to be some sort of doyen here, but surely the question should always have been, what's the second single? Because everybody knows every little thing she does as magic should have been the first single. I love how the song starts with that ascending key, those ascending keyboards, and the synthesizer with Sting's vocals there as well. And then it's almost sort of got a minor key sadness feel to it, but then it explodes into that glorious celebration of every little thing she does is magic in the chorus. It's just like a flood of sound, which is really beautiful. And then we go into a middle section, which reminds me a little of the Beatles, A Day in the Life. You know, I woke up, I got out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Even here, even though it's here, I resolved to call her up 1,000 times a day and ask her if she'll marry me in some old-fashioned way. And then it builds, 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 and the band just goes absolutely wild as we take this song out through the last chorus. And then there's that iconic drum fill of Stewart's. I'm not going to do it. I can't drum. I don't want to drum. Leave drumming for the drummers. But it's an unbelievable section, a really great groove, and it's impossible to underappreciate or underestimate the importance that Stewart's drumming had to the Police sound, just like Andy's guitar work. It's a stunning vocal throughout by Sting. Not Prince, Sting. And he even gets in some of those eos, eos. Do I sound like a donkey? But which was such a part of their sound from the first two albums. Still, there is that reliance of keyboards from the demo version, and Andy's contributions are fairly buried within it. Then we move on to Invisible Sun, and Invisible Sun's a really interesting choice as the first single because it's kind of depressing. It's got a very gloomy and dark feel to it. And that's because it was written in Ireland during the time of the hunger strikes, and things were incredibly grim. Interestingly enough, Sting begins singing by going 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of a count down to disaster, we've got to count up out of disaster. And that's the whole idea behind the song. Even when things are looking incredibly dark and ugly and despairing, there must be an invisible sun which is going to shine light on the world and show us the way out to the future. Andy's riff is once again buried in the background, but we do have some oh, so we've got that staple part of the song. And Sting delivers this robotic and precise and almost a cold vocal all the way through, pretty much, which gives it that sort of despairing sound. Interestingly enough, I had some history with this song when I used to be doing solo gigs, playing guitar and singing along. I was so desperate for content that I ended up playing Invisible Sun. And I'm thinking, what in the hell must the diners and the patrons have thought of this music I'm listening to? Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema, and then into has to be an invisible sun. So gloomy. Don't worry about finishing your meal, folks. We are doomed. So it must have sounded like something the cat dragged in, pun intended. But still, as we end the first triptych of this album, the first 1, 2, 3 punch, the first third, it's a great song and it's a great, powerful end to that section. Because then we move into Hungry for You, J'aurai toujours faim de toi. It's French. Because the next thing we need is this 2-chord funk workout that the band puts together, which sounds like it came out of the jam sessions in the recording studio. And if we're going to take it just one little step further to be potentially annoying, or at the very least pretentious, we're going to sing all the lyrics in French. Now, what were they doing here? It was nice to see they're looking after their French audience members, just like David Bowie did with It's No Game Part 1 on Scary Monsters, which I've been burying myself in of late, looking after his Japanese fans, like Queen did with Teo Toriati off A Day at the Races. Sting's going to do it to his French fans. And this is how it goes. Rendez du max nuit. Je veux de tout ce que j'ai mais ne conse d'autre mouille, complètement que votre sourd. huge apologies to anybody who's listening to this who speaks French. I'm just showing how ridiculous I think that is. Then again, it's kind of funky. But what were the lyrics? The lyrics are "No sleep tonight," as we translate through Google Translate. "No sleep tonight. I want you until I'm dry, but our bodies are all wet, completely covered in sweat." Now I know why the French get everything, don't they? The French get everything. When it comes to romance, the French get everything. Anyway, the song starts very impressively with that funk groove workout, but then it just, for me, tends to go nowhere. Sting does add the English lyrics towards the end. "No matter what I do, I'm still hungry for you." Um, if you dig the song, great. I can imagine it being used on dance floors all over the world. Same with the next one, which is Demolition Man, the last song on the first side. But now we're going into ska territory, and we've got a saxophone riff being played from Sting, and Andy's doing his best imitation of Eddie Van Halen with those harmonics squeals, if you like, which don't kind of fit in. Although the drum work from Stewart is absolutely astounding. The sound of the snare drum is brilliant, and that probably comes down to maybe Hugh Padgham, and who invented the gated snare sound or the gated drum sound with Phil Collins in the Air Tonight, which then just became ubiquitous all through the 80s. But it's not just that. The bass drum is very forceful and really is a visceral experience as it punches through the speakers and sort of hits you in the chest. Really cool. And we have the rhythm of Sting's syncopated vocals, which work very well, although they're so heavily multi-tracked that I kind of think that I like the Grace Jones version just a little bit better, which came out 6 months before this. The song was given to her, because Grace just comes up there and forcefully just delivers a nice clean vocal. We hear everything. It just sounds magnificent. Sting's lyrics, however, are pretty cool. "I'm a walking nightmare, an arsenal of doom. I kill conversation as I walk into the room. I'm a three-line whip. I'm the sort of thing they ban. I'm a walking disaster. I'm a demolition man." Really cool. I think Andy has said that this song was the first thing that they tried to record, and it is a 2-chord song recorded in one take, and then there we go. The last 2 minutes of this 6-minute song are kind of really pointless to me. They're jamming out towards the end, but Sting's not allowing his bass lines to go berserk. Stewart's just pushing the song along, and Andy's not doing much either. But we get a lot of sax. We get a lot of sax from Sting. Almost said we'd get a lot of sex from Sting, but I didn't go there. It's a little bit pointless to finish that side of the album, but once again, you may love it, and that's fine. That's great. I mean, I don't take it off. I don't take the needle off the record at this point, but I'm going to have to shortly because it's the end of the first side. Side 2 opens with another song which is probably designed for the dance floor, and it's Too Much Information. Once again, we get this simplistic sax line that opens the song, and Andy is wailing on his guitar in the background, or because he's buried so deeply in the mix. And Sting's vocals once again are multi-track, so they become almost a percussive or a rhythmic instrument as opposed to a melodic one. It becomes difficult to understand what he's saying. But I will just once again praise Stewart's drumming style, ability, and perfectionism, genius, if you will, because he's got clarity, precision, and a great attack in the drums. I did wonder while I was listening to this song whether they had been listening to Talking Heads' Remain in Light album before recording these grooves and these 2-chord songs. I don't really need to hear this song again unless it was to get funky on the floor. But like Demolition Man, it sort of has an extended fade out, but thankfully this one fades out after about 30 seconds and we're out of there. I really did enjoy, or do enjoy, the next song called Rehumanize Yourself. And one of the reasons for that is as part of that distinctive Police sound, we have Andy's chord work to start, and it's front and center, and it sounds like a Police song. Now, I suppose I better take a good hard look at myself and wonder whether I only like these songs if they remind me of the Police in the past. I suppose there's an element of truth to that, but I also would like them to indicate or be an exemplar of how the Police are going to go into the future. And it's interesting, ironically, seeing that I do dig this song, Sting's want to say stink all the time. Don't feel that way. Sting, you're a genius. The Sting saxophone is the one that's now wailing behind in the background. We drop into the song and it's really cool. And I particularly like the instrumental section where Sting's wailing like with doing the police call. And during that instrument, that's at the end, should I say, the instrumental in the middle, there's swirling saxophones, or is it guitar synth? Not too sure. They've got this sort of reversed Middle Eastern feel to them, which I really love. Now, this is the song that earned this sticker to protect a young 15-year-old from depravity and despair and going down that immoral hole of swearing. And here is the lyrics. Billy's joined the National Front. Good old Billy. He always was just a little runt. He's got his hand in the air with the other. Do you have any idea which word's coming next? It's probably something to do with people. He's got his hand in the air with the other people. You got to humanize yourself. It's a cool song. It's got a catchy chorus, and I dig it. Then we go into the Caribbean again, with one world, not three, and one world is enough for all of us. And we've got some echo on Sting's singing and delay on Andy's chord work. And so I wonder whether they're almost taking an excursion into reggae dub here, or dub reggae. There's a subgenre that they're mining here. Lyrically, it's very important, I suppose. The idea of thinking globally, not locally, and thinking about the world situation rather than the suburb that you live in situation, or the country that you live in. But musically, it's a little bit unnecessary for me. And by the 3/4 point in this song, Stewart stopped playing completely, as though he's disinterested as well. Great message. And again, this is a sort of song that if you're on the dance floor in the mood, you'd dig it. So far, I've got the first section with the first 3 songs, then the next 5 with a bit of an, excuse me, I think too much information. But then I'm starting to run out of all hope for myself in this situation, because I need something. I need something to lift my mood, even if it is with a frenetic, chaotic, and quirky riff from Andy. Something that sounds remotely like this. And this is Ωmegaman, which Andy wrote, and as I said, the record company wanted to release this as the first single, but it was vetoed, and they put in Invisible Sun instead. But there is hope left in this album for me, because I love that demented playing at the start. It's complex, it's quirky, the Andy's chords are back, and when he takes a solo in the middle of this song with the propulsion from Sting's bass playing, and particularly Stewart's groove and forcefulness on the drums, allow Andy's riffing instrumental lead to really shine out, and it's really cool to hear. What a rhythm section, as I said. And this song only goes for 2 minutes 40, as opposed to something like the longer songs in the middle section. 2 minutes 40, perfect for a single, and I wish they had released it. This takes us on to another high point on the album, the 4th single. I think it was released as a single in America. I don't know whether it was released anywhere else. Was Secret Journey. And this features Andy's guitar work back in full Police mood. And it sounds like something the Police would do, and it sounds like something from the time period. Now, Andy on this album is using a Roland GR on this song in particular. GR, see if I can get to what I'm about to say, the number I'm about to put in before I say GR again. GR 300 guitar synthesizer. And I know something about this, because when guitar synthesizers seem to be taking over the world for that very short period of time, the guitar players wanted to have that option of playing a synthesized part. I bought the GR50 from Roland, and I had to mount the pickup onto the bridge of that guitar, a Floyd Rose tremolo, by the way, so that was always going to turn out well. So I would be able to do that as well. The thing that amazes me was that the tracking was kind of poor, so you had to play incredibly precisely. And I think we took up way too much time doing that, when we could have got a synthesizer player just to do it. But having said that, it's the sort of thing which now seems so primitive, because you or I would be able to get exactly the same sound using GarageBand these days. Anyway, there's some complexity in this song. I really dig it. It goes all over the place within such a short amount of time. Sweet as. That then takes us into Stewart's song, Darkness, which finishes the album. And this really reminds me of the song from Regatta de Blanc, The Bed's Too Big Without You. And I suppose right now you're saying, if you love this entire album, that yes, I am just jumping on songs that I love because they remind me of the earlier Police. But still, what's wrong with that? And this is going in a direction which really hasn't been around before. Even though I've just said it reminds me of The Bed's Too Big Without You, I think I meant Darkness and Ωmegaman. It's moody, it's introspective, and I'm sure that the Darkness um, is talking about depression. Wish I'd never woke up this morning. Life was easy when it was boring. Cool sounds in the background. Is it sort of a reverse guitar or is it a reverse sax? And as I was listening to it, pondering that question, the album finishes and it's all over. And so there's a couple of questions that I need to ask before I round out my discussion of this album. And the first one is, those recording studio 2-chord jams, was that because there was a sort of a torpid feeling within the room at the time? Or is that really the direction that they wanted to go? Because they didn't go in that direction. In fact, they went far more towards melody on Synchronicity, which is an album, again, I haven't heard for about 40 years. The second question and Synchronicity in Pursuit of Total Global Domination. And the second question I've got to ask is that all that multi-tracking of Sting's vocals, was that absolutely necessary? Because I think it detracted for me, away from the melodic power of his voice. He's a great singer. And in this situation, I think he's almost uses that rhythmic or percussive device, as I mentioned before. And the third question is, where's Andy? It's just not, I can't appreciate it if this band as much if Andy's not sort of out there front and center, because some of the stuff that he's come up with over the years has been iconic. And we think of Message in a Bottle, that riff, Walking on the Moon, that chord. Think of do 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 da da da. When the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around. There's only one chord in that song, I think, but it's colored so beautifully by Andy's chord work. And then we even think of something like Every Breath You Take. The sound of Andy's guitar there is really important. Anyway, that's sort of how I come out on Ghost in the Machine. I think it's got some incredibly high moments, a little bit of a dip in the middle, and then a great way to go off in terms of those 3/3. And I've listened to it a lot over the last week, and I definitely think this is an album that's going to stay in the collection. It's going to be enjoyed in the collection. But I could see myself actually just streaming the first three and the last three songs occasionally. But it has given me pleasure. And don't forget that if music of any sound, size, shape, style, or invisible sun gives you pleasure, then I'm not going to argue with your opinion. These are just opinions. These are feelings. These are favorites, that sort of thing. Anyway, I hope you're doing really well. And if you have enjoyed this video, then there's some other ones right up there. And there's quite a few of them now, and I think you might find something that you enjoy. But until next time, hope you're doing really well, staying cool, and bye now.